Kung Fu Havoc number 2. We're going to finish up on knees and elbows and how everybody in the martial arts love knees and elbows. So I'm making a little bit more room so I can do a little bit more stuff. I did some demonstrations earlier. Again, there's no room. It's sleeting outside, so I can't take the laptop outside. So for Kung Fu Havoc number 2, which I generally record on the laptop, versus Instagram, which I generally record on cell phone. So earlier, and I haven't stretched since work, and I wanted to actually do this at work, and I didn't take my laptop. Plus, with the way the weather's running, it's kind of hard to do videos in bad weather, and I have hair in my mouth. So, alright, so we have established in both videos at just how much and how devastating a knee and an elbow can be. We also talked about how, when, where, and why you need to actually know how to, 1, fight, 2, know when, where, how, and why you are going to be using a knee or an elbow. Now, there's not enough martial artists on the planet, except for you newbies coming up, that don't really know about knees, forearms, and elbows. Alright? Now, I won't be doing any kicks in here, because there clearly is no room. Now, without having to, step sideways, chamber it, and throw it out. Alright? So, without having to do all that, there won't be any kicks in this demonstration. Unless I decide to, again, step sideways, chamber it, and throw it out. Which doesn't show you any ramifications of the knees. Now, the thing about knees, we're going to go knees first, because there's no room to do a lot of stuff. The thing about knees is that they are extremely, extremely useful. The problem with knees is being able to set yourself in the position to use them. Now, a lot of martial artists don't seem to understand that there isn't a lot of ways to set up the knee. And you have to know how to set up the knee to use the knee properly. And sometimes you just get lucky. Let's call it like it is. Sometimes you get lucky. You get really, really lucky. And you can do that. Sometimes you can get really, really lucky and you can nail that knee. Now, as a shorter man, I'm not going to be able to knee anybody in the face. Unless they're coming down, like they're sprawling. They're sprawling to try to take me for a single leg or a double leg takedown. You know, unless they're doing that, it's not impossible, but highly unlikely that I'm going to throw a knee. Earlier in the video, I talked about how people like to do the jumping knee and how effective that would be. But on a short person, a jumping knee could probably be the kiss of death. If you're like 6 feet, you don't need to do a jumping knee on me. Because my knee is like right at your face. Or my face is right at your knee. So it's not going to be highly likely that you need to do a jumping knee at a person who's only 5'3" when you're 6 feet tall. That would be a waste of energy and a poor lack of skill and judgment. Because I'm 5'3", you're 6 feet, so you're right here. You could probably just lift your knee up and it'll be in my face. You know, if you have to do a jumping knee on me and you're 6'3", you don't know how your body works. Simple as that. Which I also have to explain that as well. Because, you know, body mechanics is a thing. And also, you need to know your own body mechanics before you can fight somebody else. You need to know what your body is capable of. In the middle of a fight is not the time to know what you can't do to somebody. Alright? If you're full on and the fight's going, it's too late to know if you can't knee somebody in the face. Because the fight's already done. So when you're training, you need to train with someone of various sizes and shapes. Alright? Let me explain that. The main reason why I've only been able to fight people bigger than me is because only big people fight with me. In other words, nobody's 5'4" or below has gone hand-to-hand with me. Alright? Not in sparring matches, not in any scenario whatsoever. Every fight I've ever been in my life, everybody's always been bigger than me. So, I have to laugh about it because I'm short. I like being short. I love being short. Short has an advantage that most people don't seem to get. When you are short, people are always doing one of these jokes, you know, I'm looking over you, buddy. Oh, there, you're down there. Hi. Yeah, I got them all. The good news about being short is short people make the best martial artists in quite a few different styles. But you got to come to my level if you're going to throw a punch, which makes it easy for me to sidestep and knee, elbow, ridge hand, back fist. I can do a lot from the ground position without being on the ground. So the bigger you are, the better it works for me. So let me tell you what I don't have because you're bigger. I don't have you in strength. I may not have you in speed. I may not have you in directness. 3 things that you honestly truly need to know about if you're a martial artist. Now, here's what I do have against you. I have fighting experience because I've been bullied all my life. And bullies turn into bitches real fast when the fists start flying. Now, so if you're this big and I'm down here, you have to swing down. I have gravity. Now, I'm 120 pounds, give or take. I'm not allowed to go over 125, so I'm trying to keep it between 121 and 125 for hip replacement reasons. But it's a whole lot easier for me to move my 120-pound frame versus your 170, your 190, your 210, your 245, your 300 pounds. A guy 300 pounds really isn't going to try to fight a little guy like me because, one, he's not going to be able to grab me unless he grabs me from the back and he catches me sleeping. But heads up, face to face, we both have 2 problems. My problem is he's stronger. Doesn't mean he's tougher. He might be as soft as cotton. He's just 300 pounds. I'm faster, or at least I like to believe I'm faster. But he might surprise me. You don't underestimate your enemy. Now, the second problem is which one of us has the better fighting experience? Which one of us has been in more fights? See, the thing about being a giant is most people are cowardly. They freak out. And so they look at you and it's like, all right, this guy's like 6 foot something, 200 and something. Yeah, I ain't fucking with him. They look at me and they say, oh, he's 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing. I'm gonna fuck with him. And the difference maker is David killed Goliath with 1 shot. And I'm a strong believer in if I can hit you harder than you can hit me, if I can recover before you can recover, if I can hit you and stop the breath, I stop you from hurting me, which is my job. As a martial artist, my job is to make sure that your big ass, no matter how big you are, because you're going to be bigger than me, don't survive this motherfucking fight. I know my weaknesses. Testicles, eyes, throat. Everything else I can adapt to. No. Sidestep, hit in the gut. You're going to get hit in a fight. Simple as that. Sidestep, clothesline. Sidestep, ridge hand. Sidestep, forearm. You have to understand how powerful the sidestep is. But what you also have to understand is that you really need to know how many different attacks can come at you at once. You can't just say the standard, alright, so it's going to 1, 2, 3, you know, those are 3 attacks. And you have my favorite for Hollywood. Let's go with those 3 haymakers. 1, 2, 3. So, first attack was 1, 2, I fucked that up. 1, 2, 3. So, block, block, block. Okay. That's pretty good. But block, block, strike stops his other hit. So I instead of doing karate, block, 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 it's block, block. I'm over this side. I can strike. I have my ridge hand. If I choose not to use my ridge hand on that first block, pull, break, snap. So this hand, after I break the elbow, it's the closest target. So I can slide to the neck, I can slide to the gut, I can slide to the ribs because I'm on this side of him. A lot of people, I need to explain this again before we get too deep into this video. Karate focuses on fighting on the inside depending on who's teaching you what. So when you're doing karate, y'all know the drill. Step back, block, step forward, block, and then punch. And then with your blocks in karate, it's the same shit. Where Kung Fu, if you block this way, you fucked up because you're still open right here. So if you block this way and you throw a lower range kick that way, first I'm in the wrong position. So that's a fuck up. Second, if I don't kick you hard enough to put you in a position where I can get to the outside of you, I'm not doing Kung Fu. I'm going to be doing karate because I got to get back into the position. Karate works on the central lane of you and me standing face to face. I throw a left, you throw a left. I block with my right, you block with your right. Now, if I throw a right and you block with your left and you step in, because you know karate, boom, boom, versus Kung Fu, boom, boom, where you get to the outside. So Kung Fu, I'm going to get to the outside. Boom, I'm going to break your elbow, I'm going to slide down your arm. So one hand here, pulling here, pushing here, and I'm going to hit you here, because I'm over here, in case y'all don't have a direct visual. Alright? So it's the same thing with the wooden man, where you clock, and hit the gut, and there's a hit there and there's a foot there. Well, damn long hair. Sorry. So, blocking this way and striking is more Kung Fu. Blocking this way and striking is more karate. But I still have the open side, and he still has a left hand. See where we're going? But with Kung Fu, when I block and break and strike, I can manipulate the rest of the fight because I'm on the outside. I have your arm here. So I can pull. That's a knee. That would be coming karate. If I pull and use this knee, it's the closest knee. That would be Kung Fu. But I want to hurt you, so I'm going to use the karate knee. Boom! And I'm going to throw that knee into your solar plexus, or a kidney, or a rib. In the heat of the battle, you're not going to be looking at any of that shit. You're just going to be throwing a fucking knee. Alright? So after I throw that knee, boom! I'm going to elbow you in the spine. Now, I know everybody's thinking, why are you elbowing him in the spine? It was like really the only option I had. Understand? You'll know your options when you're in a fight. You don't have time to plan it. You don't have time to think about it. All you have time to do is react. So when you sidestep and break and you do this, your next move is going to come instantly. So it's going to be muscle memory or second nature. It's just going to come. So boom, 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 boom. You know, you're going to do enough combos to put this motherfucker down. Now, if you choose to let the fight continue, there's a good chance that you could lose the fight. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Street fights, real street fights, don't go more than 5 minutes. Most of the time. Unless both of you guys are really, really good. Most of the time, most street fights, when you record them on video and you watch them, not like bum fights, but real actual street fights, they generally don't go longer than 5 minutes. People get tired. People get winded. People get really tired. Especially big guys. Especially big guys who are not healthy. People who smoke. People who drink. That's when your size really doesn't matter. Because if you're not healthy, it doesn't matter. If you don't have good cardio, it doesn't matter. Your fight, you better end it quickly. If you know you don't have good cardio, you better get cardio. Because if you're fighting someone who's like me, I'm 120 pounds. It doesn't take a lot of air for me to move. No. I can breathe and get out of the way. Versus I can stand there and take a hit and get the wind knocked out of me. No, fuck that shit. Boom, boom, or boom, boom. You know, I'm going to do something to keep me from getting hit in the gut or the testicles. I'll take one to the face. I'll take one to the face, you know. I don't want it in the nose, but I'll take one to the face, you know. Boom! Roll with that sumbitch. Tuck your forehead. Do something to prevent getting hit in the throat. Because if a person can't breathe, it doesn't matter if they're 6'2" or 2'4". If a person can't breathe, they can't bother you anymore. So, you know, sternum, throat. You know, those are the main things I'm going to protect. And my testicles. But, you know, we're going to get on these knees now. You can block with knees. If someone's throwing, hold on, let me rechamber it. If someone's throwing a round kick, let me get in the right position so I don't tear anything up in here. Move that basket back. So I'm throwing a round kick, Taekwondo or Thai fighting. Thai fighting, it would be way up here, but for lack of space, Taekwondo, boom. So someone's throwing that. Those are your blocks. If you do Thai fighting, you know this block. Boom. Boom. You can throw those blocks. So, also, if you throw the block right, and you hit them in the thigh or in the knee, you can do damage. I prefer to tell you with Kempo, that when they're snapping out that block, or that kick rather, like this kick there, as you can see there's no room. If you're going to throw that kick, or someone's throwing that kick to you, you block, you break, elbow, foot sweep. No, or you block break and foot sweep. And then you fall onto them. Target crotch or sternum. And everybody who does martial arts is just looking at me like, you're full of shit. Go try it. Then you get back with me. But you also have to be fighting somebody who's actually doing taekwondo or a round kick. If they're doing a front kick or a jumping front kick, which there is no room, but y'all all know what that looks like. If you're doing any martial arts, it's like, what's that? Day one, first kick one, the jump kick. There's no room, so I can't actually demonstrate it, but you guys can go Google that shit. You can Google everything. So, if you're doing a jumping front kick, you have ways to avoid that. Sidestep, block, catch, catch it, twist, catch, turn. If you're doing tiger, you can do a dragon catch and twist it and turn it. Or if you're going to do wrestling, you can kick it, twist it, drop into an ankle lock. The big, deep-seated ankle lock, the Kurt Angle ankle lock. Not the small one, but the big one where he locks his legs around it and he toes the ankle lock. So there's a lot of ways you can turn a jumping front kick into a defeat for somebody. Now, again, with the knees. If you're going to jump and knee someone, their height is a factor. I'm 5'3". I'm not jumping knee anyone until I get them in the right position. So if they're charging left hand, I step to my right. Boom! I don't have to jump. But if I have to jump, boom! I want to also have a part of their body to slam into my knee. Force on force so that I can bring them down versus boom! I did the same thing, I'm sorry. Versus sidestep, boom! Now they're running and they're going to get caught over. The chances of that happening, it's like 20-30. 20 in your favor actually pulling that off. But if you're fighting someone who has no experience, then it's 50-50. Again, just because you're fighting someone who doesn't have experience, it doesn't mean that they're going to lose the fight. Many of people who thought they were badasses have lost to someone who can't fight their way out of a paper bag. Take my word for it. Wasn't me. A lot of my ass whoopings came from my elder sister who did not know martial arts. But she could windmill the fuck out of a motherfucker. For those who don't know what the windmill is, go watch some girl fights. They can show you what the fuck the windmill is. Especially ghetto girls. That windmill is the most dangerous form of fighting that ever was. No kung fu that I have learned in this world has taught me to propel myself for the windmill. That's this thing. My arms don't work the way women's arms work. It's like the windmill is like only a female thing. I have yet to see a man windmill. If you guys know somebody that's a man that can windmill, please let me see that. Send me a link to that video so I can see a man windmilling in a fight. Alright? Because most of us, if you're doing Wing Chun, you're doing it in a southpaw stance. Boom, boom. If you're doing southpaw boxing, boom, 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 boom. You're going to get that in there. And also, elbows. Now, if you're going to southpaw, sidestep, knee, then elbow, southpaw again, sidestep, knee, punch, elbow, it's all there. Now, if you're a standard person, so you're going to be right-handed, so you're going to probably use right knee. So, sidestep, knee, sidestep, jumping knee. Now, do you want to know why my hand's like this? This is a blocking position. If you do Tai Chi, if you do Drunken Master, this is a blocking position. The wind, boom, the double palm strike or the butterfly strike. Don't ask. If you don't know anything about butterfly kung fu, it's a real thing. It's I think it's like from the northern Chinese province. I'm probably wrong, so don't quote me on that. But there is a butterfly strike. There is also an iron butterfly style. No, I don't know that. I looked into it though. I've been looking into it for a couple of months. So some of your Tai Chi can turn into the butterfly. So yeah, I don't have that shit down packed. I have Drunken Master down, but that's because of the sway. The thing about Drunken Master is also it's difficult, but you can also throw in a knee and an elbow. You know. And the thing about Drunken Master is not so much the style as the master and what style that master has taught you, which is more than likely it's going to be Kung Fu or Gung Fu. Maybe even Wushu if you're like really good at flying and doing butterfly kicks and shit like that. Which is why there is a butterfly style, because the butterfly kick comes from the butterfly style. And it was a martial arts style before it was an ice skating move. Remember that. It's kind of a part of Wushu, actually. So, it's like the escape of foot sweep. You know, if you're in the air doing a butterfly kick, you're more than likely escaping a foot sweep, or you're kicking somebody with some asinine reason to be doing that shit. So, I've never seen a butterfly kick in actual combat. I have attempted it sparring. You know, it's the same thing like a reverse tornado kick. You're rarely going to use that shit, and there's no room in here for that. But you're rarely going to use that shit in combat. You're rarely going to use a tornado kick in combat. But if you have to use it, you want to know that you actually can use it. So we're not going to say that it's impossible. Elbows and knees, people. Elbows and knees. Stop letting me get off track. So, alright. When you're doing a back elbow, you know, primary target, again, depending on your opponent and their height, not so much their weight, but their height. Their height is a big factor. So if I'm like going against like somebody who's Ralph Sampson or the Giant, anybody in the 7-foot range, I'm sorry for what I'm about to say. It's going to be a little sexual, if you would, or sexually insulting. If I'm fighting the Giant, you know, from The Big Show, if I'm fighting him, his crotch is basically in my face anyway. So if he comes up behind me and I elbow him, I'm already at crotch level. So, yeah, it's like, boom! Yeah, it wouldn't be that difficult. If I'm fighting somebody like The Rock, on the other hand, who's 6'3", 6'4", I'm 5'3", so he's a whole foot and a quarter taller than me. Elbowing him in the crotch is not really going to be a possibility. Elbowing him in the gut would be more sensible. I definitely wouldn't be able to elbow him in the chin without jumping. You know, it can be done. Don't think that it can't. It can be done. It's just going to look flicked as fuck when you're doing it. You know, again, you need to know when to apply a elbow or a knee. Now, you're not going to do a back knee. Alright? You're not going to do a back knee. Now, there's a trick knee with Ric Flair. You know, where he's kicking people in the testicles. That trick knee. Ric Flair and that trick knee. If you watch enough JR's broadcasting that trick knee, somebody will come up. I have a wedgie. 2 of them. They come up behind you and grab you. The trick knee where you kick them in the crotch. That's like the back knee. That's the best I can give you for that. You're literally not going to do a back knee like that. That's not going to happen. Unless you are exceptionally flexible. Now, if you're exceptionally flexible or you're like an alien and your leg can spin all the way around and knee someone while the rest of you is like this, good job. I can't do that shit. There may be someone who can. If you're a contortionist, you probably can do that back knee shit. So let's live in reality now. Because I am not a contortionist. I am the recipient of a hip replacement. So the best I can tell you is if I have to back elbow you and then spin and knee you, that's more probable. Or if I'm going to be honest, boom, grab, boom. Because it's going to be kind of difficult for me to elbow you, spin in a circle, and knee you if you know how to fight. If I get that elbow in, that's probably all I'm going to get in if you recover fast enough. If you recover really fast and I elbow you and you recover, you're like, oh hell nah, and you come at me, I'm going to be throwing more elbows because boom, boom. That's easier than boom and boom. That's also because I do more Kung Fu than karate. Understand? Now, if I was going to really do just Kung Fu on that one, I would elbow you, put you in a headlock, and bring your head to my knee. Because that's a lot more practical. It's also a lot more direct versus elbow, spin my knee around this way. Now, this is more powerful. This is definitely more powerful because I'm going to add a torquing knee versus boom and boom. But honestly, I'm old. So boom and boom works for me. It's also Kung Fu, where boom and boom would turn the lines from Kung Fu to karate. Small difference. Really, really small difference. But also, that would be a lot more effective than boom and boom. Especially if my elbow doesn't even stun you. Which goes back to, you need to know where to elbow people. So, truth be told, no, all of this is a great place to elbow people. All of this is a great place to elbow people. There's just one tiny little problem. No one's going to stand there and allow that shit to happen. No one. No one goes, I'm a Super Saiyan. Elbow me in the face. And when you find that person that does that, and they don't get mad and they don't try to beat the shit out of you, let me know. But for me, if you elbow me in the face and I recover and I'm not bleeding, we're going to have a situation. And it's not going to be good for you because I'm recovering and I'm not bleeding. Now, accidents happen, which again is why in wrestling you are taught to hit with the fatty part of your body so that they'll still feel some of the impact, but it won't be as nautically or noticeably painful. There'll still be pain because, you know, they're going to sell the punch and they're going to sell the hit and you're going to sell the bump. But at the same time, you know, the reality is they've been taught how to absorb the blow. Right? Which is why when you see people go for the front kick to the midsection, if you watch the wrestlers carefully, they kind of bump up a little bit because it's absorbing the blow as they're laying themselves on the boot. They're also coming up, which absorbs the blow. It's a cooperative thing. I'm kicking and you're receiving. Alright? It's going to make contact. But I'm trying to pull the kick so that the contact is minimum, not maximum. And you're trying to absorb the kick at the minimum, not the maximum. Now, in a real fight, it doesn't work like that. Your opponent's going to absorb that kick and you're going to use the maximum. Period. Now, there's a default in that. So let me get to that after this thing about elbows. Now, with elbows from the back, alright, you have your levels. So you have where you are, which is your standard. And then you have high. You have higher without jumping. Your highest with jumping. A little difficult for some. Won't be difficult for you in the heat of battle because you won't be thinking about that shit. And then you have, you know, your low. And if you're down lower, you know, it just really depends on if your opponent's basically coming at you and is trying to get you in a gorilla grip from the back. So he's like trying to go around you. He's going to either class this way, or class this way. Either way, he's going to try to do that. So your options are boom, boom. That's a whole lot easier than trying to throw your knee too. But you can get 2 elbows off before you can get 2 knees. Understand that. You might be able to get a series of elbows off if you're fast enough with your elbows. You know, because he's going to grab you. His hands are right here. Boom, boom, boom. You can get all that off before you turn and throw a knee. Same thing on the other side. Boom, 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 boom. You know, you can unload the hell out of some elbows on people. Now, for entertainment purposes, when you're hitting with the fatty part, where it's mostly muscle and fat versus bone. Now, same thing with the forearm. You're going to try to connect with this part, but you want it to look good. So, if possible, you want to try and connect with that part, but you don't want to connect with the full elbow. Now, I'm going to tell you this. If you're in MMA, they're going to tell you connect with the full fucking elbow. There's a plus and a negative to any of that shit that I just told you. Alright? The plus with the fatty part is that you're not going to hurt yourself as much. Alright? You're also not going to hurt your opponent if you're just doing wrestling. Unless they have a glass jaw. Then you'll probably hurt them. Now, same thing with hitting them with your bicep or tricep, whichever one this is on the bottom. Yeah, this is the bicep, this is the tricep. Okay, so when you're hitting with the tricep, you're trying to get as much of the fat part of the tricep versus the bicep. Alright? So when you're clotheslining or Russian sickling, you're catching them in your inner elbow versus like totally straight, but that's just a Russian sickle. The regular clothesline is basically like a ridge hand, only without your ridge hand. Understand? I'm sorry, I couldn't resist that. Sometimes I do random shit. Anyway, so if you're going to ridge hand or you're going to clothesline, you're basically trying to catch them with more of this than this, because higher up here is a little bit more fat versus all of this, which if you catch in the throat, you're going to seriously hurt your training partner. So you don't want to do that. And in wrestling, you don't want to do that. You want to try and catch them with much of the top or arm than your wrist. All right? So that way, and they already know they're going to fall, especially in wrestling, because they're taking the bump, you know. So when they boom, you know, they're halfway on the descent. On the way, when you're going to clothesline, they're halfway on the descent. Watch their bodies. They're halfway on the descent. Their job in the ring is to sell the pain. All right? And 9 times out of 10, they are in pain. It's just not tremendous pain, which is how they can come back night after night after night, because they've been trained to absorb the pain. Now, when you're doing elbows, again, depending on your opponent's height, not so much weight, but height. I'm 5'3", so the average person's like 6 foot, which means your crotch is somewhere right here. All right? So if you're 6 foot and your crotch is right here, boom, it's easier for me to hit you in the crotch. And then I can bring up a knee because you're already coming down. So I will grab the back of your head, boom. Now if you want to know why my elbow's inside versus outside, it's really going to depend on the situation of how I grab your body. If I can grab your body and this is closer that way, that's what's going to happen. If I do it and this is closer that way, then I'm going to do that. So that's like just going to be something you're going to learn in the midst of doing it. So when you're practicing this with people, you have to be careful. And if you have to knee someone in the head, you want to go the forehead route because you don't want to crash in their face. Especially if you're just training or if you're working out a fight scene, you want to make sure that you don't hurt your training partner. So again, boom, boom, or boom, and boom, you know, you're going to figure that shit out. And it's also a lot quicker than boom, boom. Alright? Now, let's get into knees. Let's get into knees, which we were supposed to be doing before I started getting into elbows. I was going to save elbows for last, but I got to talking, so we keep going. Knees are very, very great and very tricky. The reason why the elbows aren't as tricky is because of how they're built on your body. You know, boom, boom, come around, boom, you know, boom. I'm short, so a lot of these I'm not going to use. Alright? Just keep your shit real. I'm short. Boom, boom, I'm going to use. Boom, 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 I'm going to use. You know, I'm going to use. I'm short. Someone's coming at you for a double underhook. Boom. Someone's coming at you from a sprawling position. Boom. Because I'm going to be able to touch their backs. Alright. Sorry. So if I'm sprawling, you're going to be able to grab me right there. You see where the circle is and my shoulder blades? So I'm sprawling. I'm coming at you in a sprawl. So I'm going to try and dive to carry, to grab your thighs. Like right here. Alright? So not your ass. This is a good ass. But we're going for the thigh. So I'm going to either go for one leg or two. If I'm going for one and you decide boom, or better, when you feed me the knee, where instead of using the elbow, I'm sprawling and you just boom, drive that bitch in. Boom. So you hit me in my forehead because I went to dive at your leg in a sprawl position. Boom. No BBJ for you. Excuse me. No BJJ for you. Because you have to get me on the ground to make sure your shit's effective. I don't have to let you get me on the ground. If you're going for the sprawl, you're also going into the danger zone of my knee. Remember, well, Instagram, you don't know. But, yeah, maybe you do. I'm not sure if you know or not. But anyway, I did the lightsabers with the triangle thing where you can't step out of the triangle. Only your legs can go to the maximum length, which means from ground to spread. Fuck it. This is the base of the triangle. You know, so when I chamber and I go here, if my crotch is over here, this is as far as I can go. If this leg steps over the rope of the triangle, I've endangered myself. The same works in reverse. if they're coming into your triangle. Boom! Boom! You know, because you're going to grab their head. Boom! You know, if you can't grab their head, you can still throw out a knee. But you want your guards back up here instead of what I just did. So, this way, in case they flip around and decide, we're going to go for this, but we're going to spin and do a schoolboy. And from a schoolboy, if you don't know what wrestling is, in a schoolboy, it's an old school way of pinning you. If I slip around and schoolboy you, I can go from a schoolboy to top mount. And if I don't go top mount, I can go to side mount. But I can still get you from a schoolboy into a side mount. Okay? So go Google what a schoolboy is, and then Google what a side mount or a top mount or a hard guard is, so you'll understand that part of BJJ. Now the thing about BJJ is you have to get me on the ground so that you can have full control, side control, top control, bottom control. Alright? I don't have to let that fucking shit happen. That's the thing about fighting. Anything I want to do to you, you don't have to allow me to do to you. And a lot of people don't understand that fighting is a two-way street. Alright? I can prepare to sprawl you, and you can definitely knee me in the face as I'm coming in. It works the other way too. You can be sprawling me, boom, throw that knee in there. And from that knee, I can step in an elbow, or I can throw another fucking knee, you know, because I've already kneed you. You came in sprawling, boom. Now I done reset. You might be done with the knee, but if you're not, when I reset, I can bring another knee in. But if you've bounced up, it would be easier just for me to tag you. Understand? So I'm sprawling, knee. I'm going back up. And you know how that your hand feels when it's sleeping, and you get that feeling when you hit right here, and everything like from here just like shuts down, or feels like your hand would feel if it's asleep, and it's a real tingly, fucking ass painful sensation from being kneed. Yeah, and it feels like everything is shut up, and your breath and your breathing starts feeling funny. Well, when you knee someone like that, that's probably going to happen. And when you catch them between the bridge of their forehead and their nose, it's more than likely you're going to make tears form, and you're also going to send them reeling back. If they're coming at you in a full-on sprawl and you pow, it's a good chance they're going to knock themselves out. So if they knock themselves out, the fight's done. It's on them. You didn't lose the fight. They just beat themselves. You know, it does happen. You know, you'd be surprised at how quickly someone can do something wrong in a fight and lose a fight. Alright? So if they're sprawling, they're going for a double leg or a single leg, feed them a knee. You know, after you feed them a knee, boom. You don't even have to do that. You can feed them both knees, because they can go in and you can just put both your knees into their guts and then put your elbows into their spine. The problem is when you're in a fight, we don't have time to think about that shit. That's why when you train, you have to train thinking about that shit. Because I almost promise you, anybody watching me right now who's been in a fight, they can honestly tell you whether they won or lost. They're going to tell you, I should have done this, but my body did this. I still won, but I should have did this. Probably would have won it faster. Which is true. They probably would have won it faster. But the problem is, when you are in the fight, when your adrenaline is pumping, when you're about to get hurt or you're about to hurt someone, this thing right here, fade to black. Shuts off. Everything else is instinct and training. Everything else. So if they're coming at you with the double take, they're going to try to sweep both your legs, and let's say they get you in a tackling position. So you're back here, and you're jamming your knees and elbows on them at the same time. Is it practical? No. Is it plausible? Yes. Is it feasible? Not for everyone. But if you haven't been trained to do that, because also from this position, when you roll your knees, you're a step away from a judo roll. And basically it would be like a belly-to-back suplex, you know, just rolling their ass over. So if you haven't taken judo, you probably don't know what that does. But basically, alright, let me get my assistant. So, let's say this panda has arms, and he's going to tackle me like this. He's got me in a tackle position. My knees have come into his chest, and here, I can lock my arms around here at his belly. His head's going to be either on that side or that side. And I'm just going to throw him right on over. Hopefully that description would be a lot better. Of course, it would be better if I had a human, but COVID and finding volunteers to be punching bags, it's not really a thing. No one wants to volunteer to be a punching bag. No one, especially me. But at the same time, you have to understand, trying to show you how that works with the panda bear doesn't look very good on camera versus using an actual human. Alright? But also, if you've never been body slammed, when people come to scoop you up, I'm small. Again, did I tell you guys I was 5'3½"? Because when you're 5'3½", people just assume that it's okay to pick my ass up and slam me. Fuck no. Being slammed hurts. Even on the floor, even on a cushion, even on a training mat, being slammed fucking hurts. Alright? If you haven't taken judo or aikido, where someone grabs you by the neck and they throw you over their shoulder, or elbow you, kick you in the shin, and then judo throw you with one shoulder, it's a whole lot easier to show up with a person than it is to just be in the air. And no, I'm not bringing the panda back. That's my buddy. But when someone grabs you and you elbow them and then you shoulder throw them for judo, it's a whole lot easier to shoulder throw them off of 1 foot versus 2 feet. So I highly recommend that you kick their shin or their instep. Do something to get them off of 1 foot. The lights is on.
I was asking, do you have to use the bathroom, dummy?
Go! I'm filming. You see the bloody lights? I'll piss out the window. Sorry. Anyway, when the light, this is part of the problem. Yeah, if I had money for a studio, I wouldn't be here. Anyway, I would never leave the studio. Actually, I would be making movies 24 hours a day. There wouldn't be only time to stop to eat, shit, and shower. That's it. Maybe shave for the role. But anyway, when I'm throwing you off of 1 foot, I got a lot more success than trying to throw someone who's 100 pounds heavier than me off of 2 feet. Which I also can apply the elbow. I can't apply the knee until I get you over. Alright? And in light of the death of George Floyd, I'm going to leave the knee out because I was taught the same thing that cop was taught when it comes to putting your knee on someone's neck. After a judo throw, I was taught to put my knee on their neck. So we don't do that. But elbow or a kick in the instep, which is like anywhere here, and then flip them over. No, it's a whole lot easier for me to get you, boom, and throw you over than you standing straight and me trying to throw you over. Now, let me reiterate. Fuck that. Whatever I'm looking for, I'm just going to say something totally different. Okay, so I got jumped at my job once, which I told you guys this before, not on Instagram, but on YouTube. When I was between 17 and 18, maybe 16, when I worked at Kegler's, where the white guy kept calling me chief, I got jumped on my job. So the guy that was talking shit was the one I was paying attention to. I let my guard down. The other guy went to go throw a beer or something in the trash, and he jumped me and he clasped his hands like this around my arms, and I could not move. So I threw myself forward, and we bust a flip, and we landed on his back, knocking the air out of him. I elbowed him. I grinded. He opened his arms. I rolled backwards, and I told him to get the fuck up. And then his girlfriend got in the way. That's the long and short. So you can elbow someone when you're down. It's just the situation that was the only way I had out. Now, my dumbass, had I been paying attention to the guy behind me instead of paying to the guy talking shit, that shit wouldn't have happened. Would have worked out totally different. Now, in that moment, all of my training, gone. 16, 17, 18-year-old James was like, oh shit, this is not good. No. And the guy was at least 6 foot. And at that time, I might have been 5'1". So he's ragdolling my shit. Literally, he's ragdolling me from side to side. My body's just doing this. And then I was like, okay, fuck this. Which is how we front flipped and landed on him. And then my elbow, boom. right here on his body, grinded a little bit. So I kind of went to the ribs a little bit, started doing one of those numbers. His class went from this to this. And then I back rolled off of him. And that's how we got there. So it's like, all right, let's see you fight me face to face now. He couldn't get back up. That little grind to this knocked all the wind out of him. And if it wasn't that, it was from the front flip. But he couldn't breathe, so he couldn't fight. That's when I learned that philosophy. If a man can't breathe, he can't fight, no matter how big the son of a bitch is. So when he finally could get to his feet, he was groggly. He was staggering. And I don't know how the fuck she did it. To this day, I still don't know. And that's been like 20 some odd damn years. Hell, we're going to say it's been 20 years. I went to hit him. And I don't know where the fuck she came from, because she was nowhere near him. But she was like the Flash. And she was in between his fist being hit with mine. And it was really fucked up. So I told her, you need to move so I can get this asshole the ass whooping that he deserved, because he wants to attack somebody from the back. Now, I've been jumped before, just not on my job. I've been jumped plenty of times before. I grew up fighting. In West Haven, any projects, most people who come from the projects will tell you there aren't too many people in the projects that hasn't been jumped or been the person doing the jumping. Alright? So yeah, I jumped somebody before too. But that was when I was in the gang for 3 days. And then I decided that my own way is the best way. So yeah, not a saint. But after that, I learned 2 things. 1, don't jump people. 2, the most dangerous guy is the motherfucker behind you. Elbows do work when you're on your back, as long as that person that you're on your back is under you. They hard to work when you're on your back this way. Still work. But when you're on your back, it's a whole lot harder to elbow going up than it is to elbow going back and to elbow going this way when you're on your feet. But they can be done. Same thing with knees. Now, you have to know when you can apply a knee strike. You have to know. So, if you're not training in elbows and knees, then you probably should be. If you're in a martial arts style that does not specify or do elbow and knee training specifically, then you should ask your Sifu or your sensei or your Shidoshi, whatever word you use to call him, your mentor, your maestre, whatever. You should ask them if that style can incorporate knees. Now, a lot of teachers don't want to break tradition. I'm sorry. I just pissed off a lot of martial artists. I don't have a problem breaking tradition, because I'm a strong believer in, if you're paying me to teach you how to fight, I need to teach you how to fight. Right or wrong. If you're paying $150 a month or $150 every 3 months, then you need to walk out my dojo with full-on knowledge of what the fuck you can use when you leave that sumbitch. And I say this lovingly to all the martial artists watching, and to all the martial artists that aren't watching, or to anyone who's ever thought about doing martial arts. If you're paying me to teach you how to fight, you can't leave my dojo until you can. Alright? Now, granted, let's say your money runs out. Alright? Then everything I taught you before you chose to leave needs to work. 30% of what you learn in the dojo is going to help you out there. 30%. Now, everybody who's doing martial arts is saying, James, you full of shit. You full of shit. Okay. I don't have a black belt, but I've beaten them in the streets. Dojo, you have rules. Nobody's going to pull out a bow staff and not give you one. You both have bow staffs. Now it's down to who's got the better stick skills. Right or wrong. If my stick skills are better than yours, I'm going to win this fucking fight. In the streets, you're not going to walk up and down the street with a 6-foot bow staff every day. So these bitches right here, these bitches right here better be on point with everything in my skull. Every block that I throw better work. Every punch that I throw better work. Every kick that I throw better work. Every time I break an elbow or a kneecap, that shit better work. Now let me explain why I tell people to break elbows and kneecaps. Because a lot of your core strength from here also comes in here. The main reason why I break elbows and kneecaps is because in Kempo, it's what I was taught to do. Now, Wing Chun has bricks, but Wing Chun also has grapples and everything too. But Kenpo is where they focus on every block is a strike, every strike is a block, everywhere there's a joint, there's a pressure point. Alright? Now, there are a lot of people who don't believe in pressure points. I don't have the right to tell you what you can and can't believe. I will agree to disagree. Pressure points don't work on everybody. I will give you that much. However, if done properly, they do fucking work. I've had it done to me in a sparring match without shoes on with the guy that I was in the film with. Otherwise, we were evened out. But every time he would do the same shit to my foot when we didn't have shoes on, my fucking foot would jam up. And I couldn't straighten out my toes. So I'm not going to say pressure points don't work. If I can tell you that it worked on me, it wasn't brainwashing because before we filmed our film and shit, I never knew the guy. You can't brainwash somebody that you don't really know. At least I don't know if you can or not. But I can't be brainwashed by somebody that I never met. Anyway, me and my bro, when we were sparring with shoes on, he's like, dude, can we please spar without shoes? And I was like, I'm a dumbass. I'll admit I'm a dumbass. And yes, he was Chinese. So he obviously knows something that I don't. Alright? So all the Wing Chun and Kung Fu that I know, it's Americanized. It's not the full-on old school traditional shit because all of my senseis have been white. Except for my first one who was black. But all of my other senseis have been white. And then my Qigong sensei who was Japanese. So you see, my shit was good, but it was watered down. I didn't figure that out until I did a sparring match with my boy from my film who disabled my foot. Understand that sometimes this shit works. I believe in miracles. And it's like every time we fight, you know, if I threw a kick, he'd do something to my foot with his hand. If I threw another kick, he'd do something to the same foot with his foot. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And then when I put my foot, I was like, He's like, what? I said, stop. My fucking toes are bent like this, and I can't unbend them. I said, yo, you gotta fix that. I don't know what the fuck you did, but you gotta fix that. And so he eventually fixed it. But we went on like this for like 5 minutes. And my defenses was pretty good. And his strikes were just fucking phenomenal. And his name is Eric, by the way. Hello, brother. Wherever you may be. Anyway, EC, because his last name starts with a C. I'm not going to reveal all that shit. Y'all know how I do. So EC, really, whatever the hell he was doing, he kept hitting me just above my big toe. And all of my toes just shut down. So I'm not going to say that pressure points don't work. I know the motherfuckers work if done correctly. Alright? So EC, thank you for that. Anyway, moving on. When we put our shoes on, it was a fair fight again. Because my shoes was protecting my black ass from all the shit that he was doing. So that made it even. Now, I never sparred without shoes ever the fuck again. Ever. Now, knees and elbows, so we can finish this off. Because I know I've been on here for about an hour. And I'm also watching the Big Swirl on AEW Dynamite. She's about to fuck somebody's shit up. Unless she's about to be betrayed. Anyway, oh, they won. My bad. Anyway, fucking, she's really a nice person if you ever meet her in real life. Anyway, if you're going to fight, your ability to know, oh yeah, she's about to get jumped. God damn it, Nyla Rose. Fuck. I can't believe Nyla turned heel. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm usually on WWE, but I'm recording that while I'm watching AEW. And they're beating the crap out of the Big Swole. And somebody else then came in with a chair. Sorry. Again. And they hit Nyla Rose with the chair. And she's cleaning the house, but I can't remember her damn name. Anyway, back to me. So, when you're going to apply a knee or an elbow, it does help to know when, where, how, and why. The why is easy. The why is simple. I don't want my ass kicked. It doesn't get any simpler than that. I don't want to get my ass beat. I don't want to get my ass kicked. I don't want to be beaten up. I don't want to be hurt. That's why I use that knee. Also, if you want to be more formative or whatever, it's because it was part of the procedure that James showed me when they throw in a left punch to get to their left side, break the elbow, stack in the throat, grab, boom, or grab, boom, or throw a karate knee. So you have to know when. The why is really simple. The why is because you don't want to be hurt. You don't want to be killed. You don't want to have your ass beat. Any phrase that is a negative is what you don't want. Now, I left off the other why, which I don't promote. So I'm going to say it because there's always someone. Someone's probably watching right now. My why was because it was fun. I like hurting people versus being hurt. There's always one of us. Now, and by one of us, I'm one of those people too. I didn't want to get hurt. Plus, it's fun. So, there you go. Not a saint. But, you have to understand, once you know the why you do something, the when, the where, and the how is all that you have left. Alright? How? I used my left knee for power, because I blocked him, I broke him, I grabbed him by the back of his clothing, and I threw the furthest knee away to bring in the most power with the torque. Now, the reason why it's like this, instead of this way, is because my left hip doesn't roll like that anymore. But you, personally, who's not unhealthy, you want to roll that hip. So you want to boom and torque that shit as you're doing in there. Now on this side, I probably can roll a little more, but my hip's going to be going. I'm trying to keep it as long as I possibly can before my second hip replacement. So, boom, or boom. You're going to torque that shit. But all the same, your target is going to be somewhere in this area. That's the where. Knowing where to hit. If a person can't breathe, they can't fight. If you get blessed, and notice what I said, don't think it's another way of saying it. If you get blessed to knee someone in the throat, you've gotten blessed. Now, if you're both 6 feet tall, it's highly possible that you can use a jumping knee to knee somebody in the throat. I'm 5'3". Henceforth, if you get blessed for me to knee you in the throat, I had to do something to get you there. Which means I had to hit you somewhere and bend you down to bring my knee to your throat. There's no way in hell I'm going to jump up and try to knee you in the throat because I'm 5'3". And me jumping up to knee you in the throat is a heartbeat away from you putting me in a power bomb. And why do I know this? My brother B-Dog almost powerbombed me when I tried to do a Huna Kamrata, when I didn't even know I could do the shit. So it was kind of one of those accidental things that you discover. So we were wrestling out in his yard over by Riverside. And I don't know what the hell I was thinking. And I just decided I'm going to run, I'm going to jump, I'm going to gap my legs open, I'm going to lock it around his head, and I'm going to throw him back. Well, the run, the jump, and lock my legs around his head part worked. The problem was, he's 5'10", so he's just a little taller than me, but he's a fuck ton stronger than me. So that shit wasn't going to work. So trying to outmuscle somebody who's bigger than me is something that you don't do. Which is another reason why you, who are learning, who are listening, who are still here, you make your opponent fight your fight. You don't never try to fight your opponent fight. That also comes into the how, why, where, when, and what of why you need to know this shit. Because here's the thing. My bro, who I'm speaking of, B-Dog, hasn't been in as many fights as I've been in. But he's been in enough, Now, we've never fought each other, and I don't fight friends, but I've also been fighting since I was fucking 6 years old. I've also been training in martial arts since I was 7. There's not a whole lot of difference between 6 and 7, except for when you learn martial arts, you start getting better at it. Understand how that works. And the more you do it, the better you become, which makes you dangerous. Now, when I went to the Army, I was already dangerous. The Army was supposed to make me lethal. Except for the problem was, the combatives that they were teaching were not at the level that they were back in the 80s and the 70s. Where they were teaching you really, really good shit. Where when I got in the military in 2010, they was teaching us BJJ, which I totally suck at. Openly admit that every time I say it. Because I know my weaknesses, but I know my strengths. I can still fight you on my back. I just don't want to use BJJ doing it because I fucking suck at it. Which again, I learned in the Army. Now I don't know if the BJJ schools in civilian life teaches you the same shit. But as the drill sergeant that I had to do night shift with, he's like, man, that shit's going to get you guys killed. I said, yeah, that's why I don't like it. He's like, well, I said, dude, anytime I got to get on my back to beat your ass, something's wrong there. It's like, well, I said, if I'm on my back, two things have happened. I'm dead, or I'm sleeping by way of unnatural causes, or natural causes just not by choice. In other words, someone hit me and knocked me the fuck out. That's the only way I'm going to be on my back in a fight. And you'll understand the type of fighter that you are. Alright? You're going to know from the first fight to the last fight if you are a stand-up fighter or a ground and pounder. Now, 9 times out of 10, there are 1,000 more people who do ground and pound versus stand-up. Alright? I have no disrespect for ground and pounders. I will say this, though. Ground and pound only works when you can get your opponent on the ground. Henceforth, I'm not knocking BJJ, but it's not for me. And if you know BJJ, and you're coming at me with some double underhook or some kind of double sweep takedown, I'm changing your diet. I'm rearranging your teeth. I'm using a knee. I'm using an elbow. I'm using a forearm. You have to get me down for that shit to work for you. You can't put me in a toe hook from a standing position. Alright? You can't put me in a heel hook from a standing position. The only thing you probably can get me with would be a triangle or an armbar or a Uganagi. Because those work standing up. Alright? For those who don't know what that is, go ahead and Google them. Because those are actually wrestling moves as well as cage fighting. The triangle was a cage fighting move first, though. But the Uganagi and the armbar, the standard armbar, where I got my legs wrapped between your head and your arms trapped and I'm hyperextending that shit, was a fucking Japanese hold from judo and jiu-jitsu first. But the triangle choke was a cage move, and then everything else was pretty much wrestling. Alright? So I'm going to say the triangle choke was a cage move because the first time I saw it in a cage. And until the Undertaker made it a wrestling move, it was a cage move. Alright? Everything else is kind of interchangeable. But if you learn judo or jiu-jitsu, you've learned those arm bars. You've learned the Uganagi. You've learned the standard arm bar. You learned the transition. You learned the flipping roll arm bar, the shit that Asuka uses. You've learned all that shit if you learn judo or jiu-jitsu. And I mean standing jiu-jitsu. Not just the sitting jiu-jitsu. I've never taken the sitting jiu-jitsu. I've only taken the standing jiu-jitsu. I've took standing judo. I did not like the sitting down judo shit because that seems kind of gay to me. I'm sorry if I offended anybody from the Alphabet Squad. I'm sorry, but you know, the judo that I took, mostly you stayed standing, and basically that was if I push you, you grab, you twist, you pull, you throw. If I pull you, you push, you grab, and you put your foot behind mine, and you push me down, and then you can go into BJJ from there. No. Because basically jiu-jitsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu were like that different. Because I took regular jiu-jitsu and it wasn't involving a lot of the stuff that I learned in the army. It's like, I didn't learn this shit in jiu-jitsu. But in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you know, you got a whole different set of rules there. And, you know, I will tell you the way I see it is that you got to manifest what works for you. And you will. You will figure it out. I mean, as soon as the first punch is thrown, you will figure it out. And if you are a stand-up fighter, you're going to stand up. You're going to keep that shit from going to the ground no matter what it takes. Alright? If you're a ground and pounder, you're going to get that shit to the ground as fast as possible. You're not going to let a stand-up fighter take the lead on that. You're going to make damn sure that you keep it to the ground. And this is how you get your fighting skills up, you know. And this is another reason why in the other two videos, the first thing I say, if you're starting martial arts in 2020, because everybody's reverting to either Taekwondo or BJJ, and they're shitting on Aikido, they're shitting on Kempo, they're shitting on shit that involves pressure points and shit like that, here's my point. If you go MMA, you got a better range of shit you can do. And then, from MMA, incorporate old school karate, Wing Chun, Taekwondo, you know, incorporate a lot of your stand-up game. Then, incorporate your ground and pound, which would be BJJ. But MMA has all of that shit. MMA has wrestling. MMA has karate. Let me be more politically correct. MMA has wrestling. MMA has other martial arts. That way, you have those two options. You know, because MMA has other martial arts. That's why it's called mixed martial arts. And wrestling is a martial art. Whether you want to believe it or not, wrestling is a martial art. Wrestling is probably the most dangerous martial arts because you utilize everything, including the headbutt and everything. Most martial artists don't really use a headbutt. Now, maybe in the UFC, but like people get headbutted in the street too. Now, you have to understand the human body has great dexterity, but it also has great vulnerability. And you won't know how much of one or the other you have until you're put to that test. Now, damn, sorry, Kenny Omega just did some crazy shit. When you I think it was Kenny Omega. I don't know what the fucking guy name is. Anyway, when you get into a rumble or a fight, it was a fucking swan time. You're gonna know, but it wasn't Jeff Hardy, and it wasn't Matt Hardy either. But you're gonna know what your strengths and weaknesses are the second that fight starts. You're gonna know, do I need to take this motherfucker to the ground? I can't beat him unless I get him to the ground. He hits really hard. If I can get him to the ground and drop dead weight on him, I got a fighting chance. Then I can start dropping soup bowls on him. You know? And when you're doing this, boom, 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 you can start throwing elbows. Boom, boom. You know, you can start grinding across him. Boom. You know, you can do some damage to somebody on the ground. The trick is you have to get them on the ground. Now, if they got good defenses and you come at them, boom, there's that knee. You ain't see it coming. Well, you're seeing stars. You have to know your opponent. You have to know what your opponent is. Which generally, in the UFC and I guess other fight stuff, I think one champion does it. When they give the cards out, I mean, I know the audience aren't the only ones that see this guy, 6'2", 5'11", or whatever. Then you got the hype and the reach and the KO list. But they also give you like a background because it flashes and says, okay, he's been in this many fights, 7-1, etc., etc. This is the styles that he do, you know. And then they're like, okay, he's mostly a ground and pounder. I think they still do that shit. I know UFC did that shit for a long time. You know, back before Tito Ortiz became the ground and pounder. You know, like I said, you will learn really fucking quickly if you're going to be a stand-up fighter or a ground and pounder. And 9 times out of 10 with the ground and pounder, they keep what works. Stand-up fighters, if you can't get past my defenses, I'm not going to the ground. If I'm not going to the ground, then you're not going to win because you're a ground and pounder. Now, if my defenses lack for any second whatsoever, if I slip, if I blink and you take me down, that's on me. Now, the question is, can I hold on while you're beating the shit out of me? Can I defend myself while you're beating the shit out of me? Or am I just going to take that ass whooping until Big John McCarty comes and rings the bell? You know, you're going to find out which one you are when it happens. You're going to find out. You're going to find out if you're taken to the ground and you can't get this guy off you, you know you're not a ground pounder. But you are being ground and pound. Now, if you're a stand-up guy, most of the time, you're not going to let this motherfucker get you to the ground anyway. So he comes at you, boom, sleepy left. He never saw it coming. You testing him out, pow. No. Now, here's where I tell you guys the God honest truth. You're going to be fighting, you're going to do martial arts, MMA. Period. To hell with the BJJ, to hell with anything else, MMA. Because if you're going MMA, you're going to get BJJ. If you're going MMA, you're going to get other martial art avenues that you can take. If you're just going to get BJJ, well, if you can't get them on the ground, which is the one thing that BJJ is great at. And this is coming from what I learned in the Army. I don't know civilian BJJ, which, again, I suck at. Just in case those who are still here are watching and paying attention, I'm completely honest about this shit. I suck at BJJ. Period. No ifs, no ands, and buts about it. And again, the guy that I was training with in Delta, because in Bravo we did Taekwondo. The guy I was training with in Delta, he will tell you, not only do I suck at BJJ, but I don't have a problem giving somebody a forehead to the nuts. But also, he was 6'4". In his defense, he was 6'4". You know, he was 6'4" and every bit of 230 pounds. I could not roll this motherfucker off me to save my fucking life. Period. However, when the drill sergeant blinked, I slid my hands under his legs and pushed his ass forward, and I slammed my head into his testicles. So I can still fight you if I'm on the ground. Didn't say it would be legal. Didn't say it would be fair. But it would be real. And after about the third time, he got tired. She said, look, man, you gotta do something else. If I have to, I will fucking fall for you. But you can't keep headbutting me in my shit. I salute you, brother. And I thank you for that. If you're out there watching. Anyway, I forgot his name. He's a really tall motherfucker. Anyway, so the point being made is you're gonna know what you are when you get into a fight. You're gonna know when you take all this training. You're gonna know if you're gonna be grounding and pounding, or if you're gonna be a stand-up fighter. Now, I've had you guys on here for like an hour or something. I wrapped this shit up because I initially started off with elbows and knees, so I'm gonna finish off elbows and knees. Again, learning the why. Why are you using elbows and knees? So that you don't get hurt. And for some of us, especially me, that shit's fun. Where? Learning where to throw that elbow or that knee. That is the second, if not the most important part. Because you can't just throw an elbow and knee anywhere because elbows and knees can be blocked. Understand that. If I'm throwing an elbow to you and you block that bitch and push it off, now you got me in a fucking headlock. Worse than that, you got me in a rear neck and choke. Because you were behind me and I threw an elbow. You blocked it. Both hand block. Now you pushed it and put me up. So one of your arms went under here and one of your arms went over my head. And now you got me. Alright? Now you got me. So, again, it's very important to knowing where and when you can use that shit. Same thing with the knee. If you're coming in and you're a ground and pounder, boom, I throw that knee. You can block that knee and keep coming, but then I still have an elbow. No, and you're going to learn that shit when someone's attacking you. If they block the knee, because this is a knee block, so you're blocking, you're pushing that bitch back down. They have an elbow. And your head's down. You're blocking the knee, so you're down, you're focused on that knee, and you forgot they have an elbow. If you use both hands to block that knee, you're defenseless to their elbow. So you have to figure that shit out. Which is again why when people try to tackle you, they put one side of their head on this side of you or on this side of you when they go for the grab. But they can't go for the grab without blocking the knee. If they don't block that knee, they're going to take it on the chin or they're going to take it on the face. If they take it on the chin and they keep coming, you got a problem. If they take it on the chin and they go down, they're the one with the problem. And this is where the how comes in. You have to know how to strike with that knee. Again, they're tackling you. Boom! So, forehead, chin. Again, if you can get blessed and get the motherfuckers in the throat, then good for you. No, but I'm not going to say that it's impossible, but it's highly unlikely, highly improbable. No, because coming straight, you're not going to get them in the throat if they're coming down. Now, if they're coming straight and you sidestep and then you knee them, you may have a chance of getting them in the throat. Until we see it happen, we're not going to be able to say it's possible or impossible, just highly probable. Again, if they're going to sweep both of your feet, they're coming in for a sprawl. You can use one knee and you can step back, or you can sprawl and catch them up here. Yeah, if you know what a sprawl is. If you don't know what a sprawl is, I'm basically wasting your time. Go Google that shit. So you'll know how to sprawl. The next time you see me talk about sprawl, you'll know exactly what the fuck it is. So if you can sprawl and they're sprawling, there's going to be some locking up somewhere. And you know, like the wrestling hammer lock tie up, you know, that kind of works out. So yeah, it's like 10 o'clock, so I need to hurry this up. Anyway, if you can sprawl or hammer lock, y'all are going to work this shit out until one of y'all can't. So you're going to work and yoke and stuff until you can't, and then somebody's going to get pissed off. Travel Channel. So then, once that happens, you're going to figure out what you're made of then. It's the same thing like if you guys are like in a triangle lock. No, that's not it. Yeah, it is. Because both of you guys have your hands around the other guy's head, and now you're Thai fighting. And for that, that's where you're boom, boom, boom. You know, you see the Thai fighters do it all the time. So when you start doing those knees, you're going to know, again, the where and the how and the when. The why is already apparent. It's going to happen because it's your only options if you're both locked up with your hands. You know? And if you're locked up like this and you release where you come in like that, you know, they might not see that shit coming. And a lot of people don't understand it. That's a move as well. Oh, that's not real, James. Well, if you got my head like this and I got your head like this, one, I'm smaller. So it's probably going to be a lot easier for me to clump in on you. And then when you let go of my head, now I have control. Alright? Control is very important in a fight. You want to set the tone of the fight. You want to be the one in control. You want to make your enemy fight your fight. You don't want to fight their fight. You want to know when. You want to know how. You want to know where. You want to know why. And those are the things that you need to know about knees and elbows. I'm sorry I don't answer too many questions here. We'll have to do that another time. It is 10 o'clock. I'm going to end this now. I was supposed to be studying and I didn't. But thank you guys for watching. For Instagram, I thank you. For Kung Fu Havoc number 2, be seeing you.